Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Star Watch, which is a weekly astrological transit report. My name is Jane. If you're new here, just quickly introduce myself. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited about this week because this is the big Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction in Taurus. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this new moon in Leo, which is happening tomorrow. So let's dive straight into this chart and just not waste any time. So we have this new moon happening at 5 degrees, 38 minutes of Leo. Tomorrow, now I have Central Time pulled up. This is 12:54 Central Time. So, you'll have to add and subtract for your own time zone, but it's tomorrow afternoon. And let's just quick reminder, right? This is a lot different than like a full moon in Leo, okay? New moons there's a darker energy there because obviously new moons, we can't see them because it's in front of the sun, so there's no reflection there. And it really is about a fresh start. Now, this new moon is happening in a trine with Jupiter over here in Aries, okay? And just really quick, just to bother you guys a little bit, I'm going to switch to the Egyptian terms here. So we also have, not only is this happening in the first decan of Leo, which is ruled by the sun, but it's also happening in the Jupiterian term of Leo as well. So we have a Jupiter-Sun strong connection with the trine over here being in the Jupiterian term. So this is a powerful moon, okay? It's a powerful new moon. And we have been in this process of like reinvention all year since Jupiter came into Aries, okay? Jupiter came into Aries and we all kind of started really going inside ourselves and really thinking like, if there's an area where I want to grow or I want to learn or I want to explore, what can I do in my life or how can I restructure my life in order to go in that direction? But see, Jupiter is more philosophical. Now Jupiter can have a lot of activity with it or a lot of activity to it, but really I feel that we haven't necessarily pulled the trigger on all the things quite yet. And Leo, I think, is here to really support that. I think we got things started a few months ago when Mars was transiting Aries. We got the balls rolling to some degree, but now here's this new moon. It's kind of like a little bit more serious. Leo has a depth to it, right? In modern astrology, this is not fully agreed upon by all the astrologers by any stretch of the imagination, but some astrologers believe that Pluto is exalted in Leo. Okay, so it's ruled by the sun and we have a Pluto exaltation. I'm going to use that as just let's just go with me for a minute. Because there's a depth to it. There's a kind of that access to the underworld. Leo is very well attuned to its inner self. It's so attuned to its dark corners of its psyche, and it kind of utilizes its knowledge of self to its advantage because it realizes that not everyone has that deep knowledge of self. And when you have a whole bunch of people that don't know who and what they are, you can actually be much more competitive. It's more advantageous for you because you're the one that can kind of take control and take the reins and succeed and really go forward and make what you want to make happen without having to worry about all these people that are on a different journey than you. And so I think this new moon is an opportunity for us to really say, go, right? It's like the starter's pistol at the beginning of a race, bam, pow, right? You're really starting something that's been sort of gestating for quite some time. And we know that about Leo season because when we look back to March and April, right, as we were moving into the springtime and a lot of seeds were getting planted. I say springtime from a Northern Hemisphere perspective. I'm so sorry, Southern Hemisphere. Unfortunately, a lot of astrology is rooted in Northern Hemisphere seasons. But, back in March and April, we had the time to plant seeds, and that trajectory from Aries to Leo being that connection with fire signs, that connection, that trajectory. So now we're in Leo season when we're starting to see some of the effects of what happened 5 months ago. And we get to kind of like take what has been building, because it has been building for the next 5 months, and we get to like really say, okay, go. And then in Sagittarius season, which is the next kind of stop on that fire line trajectory, we get to expand it and let it grow. But we have to get it started first. It's not good enough to just plant a seed. We have to actually like provide for that environment for the growth. And in order to do that, we have to actually really do something or initiate in some way. So this is like a second layer of initiation that's building upon the initiation that took place back in Aries season. All right, so we've already done a lot of stuff, but now we're moving into that next realm. And this is that realm that must take place in order for the expansion to take place as well. All right, so as much as I want to talk all about like, oh, your inner child and go play and dance and sing and go have fun, I actually think it's a little bit more serious than that. And it's going to apply in more serious departments of your life, like your career, or like buying a new home, or like taking a relationship to the next level, or committing in some way, especially because now this new moon is not technically opposite of Saturn, okay, by degree. It's not opposite, but by zodiac sign it is. So we have Leo, new moon, we have Aquarius, Saturn, and Saturn also brings that kind of quality of long-standing, longevity. That's what I meant to say, longevity. So we're not just, it's a good new moon to not just take so seriously. Now, you don't have to do like a ceremony with candles and journal writing. I mean, you can do that stuff, but you don't have to. But I think that this is a feeling inside of you, this feeling of readiness, that you're like completely and utterly prepared for this new thing that Jupiter over in Aries has been supporting and getting you into that realm of desire for quite some time. The realm of desire is so critical to manifestation. It's so important because without it, you're never going to really drudge up the passion in order to really get there, you know? And Leo is a very passionate sign. And I think there's that commitment to like the commitment to the passion. And I think Taurus has a big part to play in that as well. It's like if we're losing passion for something, or we're losing our steam, or we're just like not even really able to focus anymore. We're just like really not interested anymore. Like that's okay for us to lose interest in stuff. I think one of the reasons why so many people are so unhappy is they don't give themselves the freedom or the license to like just go do something else. You know, I think that's changing a lot with the Pluto and Sag generation, which are like the Gen Z generation. A lot of that is changing because they're so freedom oriented. So of course we have this explosion of like freelancers and travelers, and this explosion of people who are like, follow your heart, and this explosion of spirituality, and this whole youth group that's growing up, like with gurus and spiritual healers all over their social media and everything. They're kind of like in this more free kind of place, and freedom really is a theme. But I think that's true for all of us, and we're all kind of in that place of like, yeah, I do want this greater level of freedom, and we have to allow space for evolution. On this day, too, we also have Mercury. Well, he's coming off of his square, but technically he is in a square with this Uranus and North Node conjunction. So when it comes to the change, I don't know that you have a lot of questions about it. I think Mercury feels pretty solid on what he knows to be the decision. Now, it's a big question of whether or not you're going to actually do the decision, right? To carry out, once you've decided, what are you going to do after that? But I think the decision is made. Like, you know when you really don't like your job. You know when you're so sick and tired of your upstairs neighbor clonking around and making all sorts of noise. You know when you're wanting to move to a new landscape. Like, you know. Now, just because you know doesn't mean it's going to happen unless you make it happen. This is a new moon that you have to do something with. You have to actually like pull the trigger and say, okay, boom, I'm going to do it, and make the phone calls and give the people the money and sign the bottom line and, you know, like do the things, because this Jupiter over in Aries has been like, do it, do it, do it. It's kind of like egging you on, like do it, do it, do it, do it. Come on, do it. And it's not even like a cheerleader, really, the way I normally see Jupiter and Aries energy, especially together. I often see that as a very cheerleader kind of energy, but it's almost like a weird cheerleader that's like tempting you, but not tempting you to do something bad. It's like tempting you to do something in your best interest, but it's kind of approaching it like that. Like, I dare you to do it. I dare you to start that business. I dare you to build that website. I dare you to move to that city. I dare you, right? And this, you know, kind of the Pluto undertones, if we take that, you know, that theory that Pluto is exalted in Leo, I kind of like that, you know. I'm not going to fully subscribe to it, but I do kind of like that, because I do see that intensity with Leo a lot. I do see that, you know, that kind of committed, not possessive, but like almost kind of obsessed quality with Leos a lot of like, I'm committing, I'm going to make it happen, and nothing is going to get in my way. So this is a potent new moon. It can be fun. I'm not saying you can't have fun doing the thing. In fact, it should be fun, but it's also like fun, but like serious, because you know that it's long term with Saturn over here. And as Mercury is coming into the opposition over the next couple days with Saturn as well, that's going to become even that much more clear. I feel like your decision-making power over the next 4 or 5 days is actually going to be really, really, really strong, unless you have some kind of interesting, like Neptune or some other kind of planet at this 23-degree mark of Saturn or Leo. But I mean, even most planets, like even if you have a sun at 23 degrees of Aquarius or Leo, I still think there's going to be a strength there, of a strength of feeling sure. See, Mercury, which is often very questioning, it's always questioning and always kind of going out and trying to find more information and trying to learn more and trying to discover more. But Saturn kind of comes in and cools that down and says, Mercury, just stop. You already know. You already have the information. Saturn has this way of keeping it so real, you know, and all of the kind of whimsical and flimsy mercurial unpredictability and playfulness kind of gets tempered. And there again, in lies that sense of surety and feeling positive. Now, I'm not saying you're going to have effects right away. Like I'm saying, really take a look at Sagittarius season and realize that we've got like 5 months between now and then. And there's going to be progressive growth, but really the growth is going to start blossoming and blooming in Sagittarius season, because that's the Jupiter season, all right? And that's what happens after destruction of Scorpio. So we move away from Scorpio, we move into Sag, and there's that quality of building and expanding on things. So that's you know, if we can operate more in long term in that way, and we understand the essence of seasons, and not even the like, oh, Leo season, but understanding that Leo season is ruled by the sun, Sagittarius season ruled by Jupiter, right? We have to understand the rulerships to understand the essence of the season, okay? So when we're in the sun-ruled season, this is about self-expression. It is about your own internal soul's ambitions. Now, even though Leo exists in some part of your chart, like for me, Leo is in my 11th house. For you, it may be in your 6th house or your 3rd house, you know, 10th house, whatever, 1st house. But I also think you should not only look to where Leo is in your chart, but also to look at your own sun placement and look at both. right? So I'll just use myself as an example. I've got Leo in the 11th, so I'll look at my 11th house. I'll look at the 12th house because my sun is in the 12th, and I can kind of combine the themes of those two houses, 11th and 12th, to kind of understand what this essence is really all about. For me, it's definitely feeling like full detachment of one particular thing in a big part of my life, letting something go. And there is an element of loss that I'm going to have to incur, or an element of sacrifice. All right, now I can't go through all the combinations in this general reading, but that's maybe a little bit of homework that if you're interested or if you want to do, you can do that. Where is Leo in your chart? Where does it rule? Which house? Or where does it lie if it's an intercepted sign? And where is your sun placement? Learning about the house placements of those and combining those themes. And I think that would be a really great thing, learning and education wise, so you can work with this energy to the best of your abilities. And again, you don't have to light the candles and do the meditations. I mean, you can do that, and that's beautiful and lovely. But if you're not that type of person, you don't have to do it that way. It can happen just up here in a moment. Okay, but there's a quality of decision making on the table. We have to make certain decisions. We also have this Venus. Let's talk about Venus just really quick, because she's coming into a square with Chiron over here. Now, Chiron has always he's been kind of creeping in a little bit the past few months and making a big impact, especially as we had all that Aries activity with Mars and Venus and everything. And now he's impacting Venus as well. Now, Venus is actually going to be creeping forward, and we'll talk more about it next week. But as she comes into that latter degree set of Cancer, she's going to be in opposition to where she was when she did her Venus retrograde against Pluto at the beginning of 2022, which I don't know, I keep referencing that because for me it was a brutal transit. I know it doesn't always affect everyone the same, but I mean, the beginning of the year was probably one of the most difficult periods of my life, literally all of my almost 37 years of life. It was brutal. But for some of you, there may have been great things that happened. There may have been deep commitments established. There may have been promotions and you kind of rising to the occasion in your life to some degree and challenging yourself and overcoming certain obstacles and succeeding. Okay, so depending on where you're at on the spectrum, we all had our own individualized experiences. But Venus is going to help us to revisit those to add some level of closure over the next couple of weeks, which coincides with Mars, Uranus, and North Node over here. But for the next few days, she's going to be in this square with Chiron. Now, Chiron, as we know, is a planet both of kind of pain and suffering and also healing. And he offers an inside look, right? He offers this inside look at things that are either hindering us or that aren't currently fully healed, things that are holding us back and things that are causing resistance in our life. Now, with beautiful Venus and beautiful Cancer, Cancer. Now, since we're talking about exaltations, so we know that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So we have a moon rulership of Cancer, but a kind of that, I don't want to call him a second ruler because he's not really a ruler of Cancer, but Jupiter does very well in Cancer, okay? And he enjoys being in this domicile. And so when we kind of tie in the Jupiterian nature of this new moon, plus Venus is over here in exalted Jupiter Cancer, she's really stepping outside of her comfort zone here. She's being forced to expand and ask for the big things. Now, again, repeating myself a million times over, I'm so sorry. Last year, I talked about it over and over, October and November, specifically during Scorpio season. I kept saying, dream big. And then with all the Pisces energy at the beginning of the year, I said, dream big. You have to dream big. You have to ask for the ridiculous things, the ridiculously large, hopes and dreams that you have. And when I say ask, I don't mean ask desperately, okay? We're not trying to be grabby here. I think desperation has a very grabby kind of vibe. It's like snatching something or trying to snatch something out of thin air or trying to get something from the universe. It's just kind of like a gross vibe. And so this is not desperate in any way, but there is a quality of expectation, right? There's a big difference between expectation and like entitlement, right? Huge difference. When we work with the metaphysical realm in a state of expectation, usually we project an air of confidence. And when we have confidence, it's usually backed up by a sense of self-value, which we know that Venus is huge about. Not only is she in a square with Chiron, but she's also coming into a sextile with Mars, Uranus, and the North Node as well. So during this conjunction on the 31st and the 1st, in the next few days here, she is going to be at play. And she's also the ruler of Taurus as well. So she's a big player here, although she's kind of sneaking in the back door a little bit. It's like the owner of the house kind of coming in that back door and just going straight up to the master bedroom to avoid the party. But yet she's still like the master of her domain. She's still in rulership here. So she's going to kind of sneak in. And it really, this self-confidence, this self-value, this self-respect, it's like, when we're building these things and all this stuff I talked about with the new moon, it's like this is all rooted in self-respect, and doing the things we say we're going to do, not for anybody else, but for ourselves. We're going to get up at the time we say we're going to get up. We're going to do the regular mundane things we say we're going to do. We're going to follow through and deliver on things. We're going to live up and beyond others' expectations of us, and even beyond the expectations that we have of ourselves. There is a leveling up quality coming up here like this week. Like we have to level up, because if we don't level up, and this is not to make you feel bad or to make you feel shame for like not doing things. It's just like, okay, maybe you had a difficult season of life, but there comes a point when you have to kind of get up, shake it off, and get back up on the horse, right? And I think this is that week, and a lot of people are going to really feel it. There's no room for like the pity party. There's no room for the excuses. There's no room for, this is accountability time, right? Like, okay, yep, I screwed up. Yep, I'm late in delivering that. Yep, I suck at that. Yep, I'd rather hire someone because I know I don't want to learn it. Yep, I know I've been putting this off. But like, you can just own up to it, but then still do something about it, And we're going to talk a little bit more about this Uranus North Node thing, because this is really going to continue to go on for the rest of the year. And as Venus, she's going to come into that sextile here, and then she's going to make her way into that opposition with Pluto right around this degree where she did her retrograde earlier this year, kind of putting a final nail in the coffin of whatever issues arose for you at that time. Yes, this can absolutely impact your relationships. It can impact your finances. It can impact your, your families, right? Cancer, your families, or your initial environment. It can impact your physical body. There can be a lot of, I think it's going to be positive for most. Now, oppositions are usually considered more Saturnine in nature, right? More challenging. But also Saturn represents a point of finality, right? And when I say Saturn, the reason why oppositions are considered Saturnian or Saturnine is because, like in traditional astrology, we have the sun and the moon, which are considered like the first planets, or like the main planets, right? Sun and moon, because everything is kind of rooted in their luminary presence, okay? And opposing the sun and moon, ruled Leo and Cancer, are Capricorn and Aquarius. Right? Capricorn opposes Cancer, Aquarius. I kind of did it wrong. I meant to go like that. right? Cancer and Capricorn are opposite, and Leo and Aquarius are opposite, and Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn. That's why oppositions kind of have that Saturnine quality, all right? But Saturn severs things and ends things and brings things to harvest. And so all this whole year, everything that's been kind of building up, and any struggles and any difficulties and any issues that you had, I feel like this Venus coming into the last degrees of Cancer is going to put an end to that. It's going to sever that. Now, there may be a point of contention, right? There may be a point of like where something gets compressed or hyper focused, or it's going to require some more energy and effort, but then it will release and you'll find freedom, especially because Jupiter is such a player this month. You will find freedom from that thing. Okay. Now let's talk about this Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction, because this is, first of all, on one hand, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. And a lot of people are projecting a lot of things going on politically. A lot of people are looking at, see, this is the problem, I think, with astrology. Not with astrology, but with some astrologers, not all of them, but some of them, is they're also really into like conspiracy stuff, like I am too, right? Really into conspiracy stuff. And so they see all these theories on TikTok and on YouTube and whatever, and they listen to all these podcasts, and they listen to all these, these things. And then they look at the stars, and then they project this kind of idea of what they think is going to happen based on the picture that they've constructed in their mind with all of these sources. Now, I'm not saying that's entirely wrong. It's just, it's a little tricky. Like right now, we're hearing so much about recession. Now, when we look at Saturn coming in through Pisces, I'm like, probably going to happen in January, but they're already talking about it with the numbers, they're trying to redefine what the meaning of recession is. Like, okay, fine. But I think if any of us were just to look out in the world and look at the inflation, you don't have to be in the US, like this is worldwide type stuff, right? You look out, you see the shortages, you see the inflation, you see certain things, you're like, okay, yeah, like I think we could all get on board with like, okay, the economy's not the best. And when it moves into Pisces, probably won't be the best. But a lot of people are projecting that, something may happen with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, something good may happen for her. Some people are thinking, that there may be an illness other than COVID with Joe Biden, or there may be, someone, the 25th, right, where they kind of declare him incompetent and Kamala may take presidency, something like that. I don't see entirely a reason to disbelieve that, because honestly, anything could happen. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen like this week. It's probably, if it were to happen, it would happen between now and the end of the year. Okay. And I know we have here in the US elections coming up. So there's just going to be a lot of stuff. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Man, it's not going away. Yes, I'm working with a homeopath. Yes, Ayurveda. Yes, mold inspection. Yeah, okay, I know all the things. I'm trying to do the best that I can. It's just really not going away. All the supplements, I know. I'm really working as hard as I can to make this cough go away. It's really been around since January, has not. And you guys, my immune system is very compromised right now. So it's been hard, really hard to get over stuff. So just sorry for all the coughing. There's going to be coughing in the August videos too. So just heads up on that. But yeah, so really when Uranus is involved, anything could happen. Like if it happens, like don't even be surprised. Like honestly, there's no point in being surprised. Just kind of shrug your shoulders and be like, okay, it is what it is, fine. You don't need to fight what's happening. You don't need to fight what's going to happen. Because it may not even be bad, it may be great. There may be some things for you on an individual level, maybe the best thing that ever happened to you, right? I mean, honestly, Mars comes in contact with Uranus, and of course the North Node has this amplification effect, and Mars is like really ensuring that destiny kind of gets pushed through. All right, so whatever destiny is, and karma as well, based on our own free will, all of that will get pushed through. Now, Uranus is a high level consciousness planet. Okay, Uranus has kind of this quality. I don't know, do you guys know the story of Uranus, right? Like he would descend down on Gaia every night, basically rape her every night. She had babies, and I think 3 of the babies, I don't even know, a few of the babies were like so grotesque and ugly that they were so big and so whatever, that he was so disgusted by them that he cast them away to the center of the earth, right? His own children. And at some point, some of his other sons, Kronos or Saturn being one of them, kind of ambushed him one night when he entered into Gaia's bedroom and castrated him, right? So he kind of has this quality of being like super, super high standards. So much so that you could be disgusted by your own children type of thing. Now, there is a karma to that. Obviously, there's a castration component, so we don't really have a lot of control sometimes when Uranus is involved because of other people's choices and other people's free will. But when it comes to our own, this is what I also mean by leveling up, right? Because you're going to look at yourself and you're going to say, like, this isn't working for me anymore. Like this pity party or this sadness or this excuse or this situation, like it's not good enough anymore. And so over the next several months, you are going to have myriad opportunities to rectify those particular situations in your life. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch this to go forward month to month, and we're just going to watch because look, end of August, what day is it? August 24th, Uranus goes retrograde. All right. So as I go back or go forward to August 28th, so like a month from today, here's Uranus retrograde, here's the North Node, right, 3 degrees apart. Go to September, 18 degrees, 13 degrees, 5 degrees apart. 17, 13, 4 degrees apart. So we can see here 3 degrees apart, right? We can see here that... and then we have 15, 11 in December, and then January that retrograde stops. Uranus is moving forward, and there's enough of a degree separation, 8 degrees versus 14 degrees. There's enough of a degree separation that these are like moving out of conjunction. But you can see, right, how close they are all year. So this is like this window of time. It's this very special window of time that is opening up for us that says, look, you want this change, you want this radical evolution in your life, this is the moment, 100% the moment. And you know in your heart, because remember, I said already about Mercury coming into that opposition with Saturn, like You've already made decisions up here. Now it's a matter of carrying through with them and actually doing something about it. And, there's always that trade-off with us, with the universe. Some days we need to do something and then we can wait for the universe to kind of respond and catch up and provide opportunities. But then we need to act. And it's this very delicate dance that's happening all the time. Right now, action is critical because this is how you are communicating with the field, right? This is how you are collapsing quantum realities in front of you. This is how you're doing it by saying, I'm going to quit my job. Now, I'm not telling you to put yourself in dire straits or put yourself in a situation of desperation. That's not going to be good for anybody, okay? You can look for an out, you can look for other opportunities, you can just really start putting the feelers out there because you're going to need to if you want change in that area. Because I've told you, and I'll continue saying it, I've been surprised, and the more and more I really thought about it, and the more and more I kind of heard more and more people talking about stuff, I realized that this Uranus through Taurus, which was supposed to be so revolutionary and there was so much change and all this, but really what it brought out was a significant desire for that change, but equal, if not more, levels of resistance to it at the same time. Keeping a lot of people at a standstill. Not everybody, but some people at a standstill. And their idea of progress is like, it's not enough to just talk about it. What good is, like, talking about it is fine for like a minute, but if you've been talking about it since 2018, now's the time, right? Because that's when Uranus moved into Taurus. It's like 4 years already. Like, it's time, right? Now, this is the window. Next 4 or 5 months, okay? This is the window. And to do it smart, to do it intelligently, to do it in a way that does not completely destroy your whole life, to do it in a way where, again, the next 5 months, you can allow yourself to allow, account for, maybe it doesn't grow immediately in like week 1, but to hold space for it to slowly and gradually expand. Okay, as we creep closer and closer to Sagittarius season. So it's an interesting time, and it's a time to take advantage of, but you have to know what's happening and you have to know where we're really going. Because when this Uranus North Node starts to separate, that's when Saturn comes into Pisces early next year. And that's when Pluto prepares to move into Aquarius as well. 2023 is going to be a crazy year. I mean, I can't stop really thinking about really what, I can't stop thinking about it because it's going to be so, the world is changing so fast, and it's going to change so fast between 2023 and 2026, which is when Saturn and Neptune officially move into Aries, right? Because in 25, Neptune and Saturn will come into Aries, but then they're going to dip back into Pisces in 25. And then in 2026, they will re-enter Aries. And then the only outer planet that we have in these last signs is Pluto. Okay, because then everything is rebuilding. 2025, Uranus is going to move into Gemini, right? Jupiter will be down here in Cancer and Leo. Saturn will be in Aries. Neptune will be in Aries. So, I mean, the whole shift from society and humanity with Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces just boom, comes back down to the self. And so these next couple years, there's going to be a big push for societal change, and the world will change, but then all those planets, then we get to go through it, right? We as individuals, we get to kind of use the power of Saturn. Now, Saturn in Aries, Saturn is in detriment, right? Because he's in exaltation, or he's in fall rather, but he's in exaltation in Libra. In Aries, which is opposite of Libra, he's in fall. So it's kind of going to be a very interesting Saturn transit. Anyway, I digress. I talk. I'm feeling chatty right now. I don't quite know why. Is this Mercury in Leo? I don't know. Maybe 11th house Mercury transit for me. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with that. You guys know I love you. I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. Happy new moon in Leo. Talk to you soon. Take care.